Vancouver, glittering skyline, gourmet cafes, and thousands sleeping in alleys. What happened to this dream city? At Romekind, we take you deep into the streets that glossy postcards forgot. This isn't just another urban issue. It's a raw, unfiltered story of people living under neon lights with nowhere to go. Tents on sidewalks, screams in the dark. A place where the American dream crosses the border and breaks.
A lot of us are sleeping on the street, and it's getting cold, you know what I mean? We're freezing at night.
Why are so many without homes in one of the richest cities in the world? Stay with us. You'll see Vancouver like you've never imagined, and you may never see it the same way again. Number 1, the numbers don't lie. Let's kick this off with something you can't debate: cold, hard numbers. According to the official Metro Vancouver Homeless Count report from March 2023, there are 2,420 people experiencing homelessness within Vancouver. Of those, 605 are sleeping unsheltered, on streets, sidewalks, doorways, while 1,815 find temporary refuge in shelters. That's not a statistic. That's a city living on the edge. Fast forward to 2024. An unofficial estimate by the Mainlander shows a whole new dimension to this crisis. They suggest that if you count everyone on social assistance with no fixed address, that's about 3,500, and tack on another 17% who aren't receiving help, the total could mushroom up to around 4,095. Sure, some argue over the accuracy, but when even the estimates soar, you know we're spiraling. And here's the kicker: Vancouver isn't alone. Similar trends are taking root across Canada, in Toronto, Calgary, Montreal. This isn't a local problem. It's a national urban emergency. Cities that once promised pristine parks, coffee bars, and a life goals vibe are now struggling with tent cities, nightly sweeps, and endless lines at shelters. Why does this matter to you? Because these aren't distant headlines. These are neighbors, students, workers, people just like us who, because of sky-high living costs or unlucky breaks, are teetering on the edge. When we ask why, we're actually asking, what kind of city allows thousands to sleep outside? When simple math becomes alarming, at what point do we stop normalizing it? Are we okay with 4,000 people, possibly more, being forced into uncertainty every single night? Number 2, the city's darkest corner. Downtown Eastside, Vancouver's open secret. The kind of place tourists are told not to Google. You walk 1 block, maybe 2, and everything changes. Glittering glass towers fade into plywood, tarps, and shadows. Here, the sidewalks aren't just concrete. They're crowded, not with traffic, but with people. People living, surviving, unraveling in public view. This isn't a story of one street. It's a system failure in plain sight. You can see it in the tents stitched together from garbage bags, in the needle caps crushed into the gutter, in the 100-yard stare of a man holding his shoes in one hand and nothing in the other. Why is one of Canada's most expensive cities home to neighborhoods where basic plumbing feels like a luxury? That's not a metaphor. Many units in the so-called affordable buildings around DTES don't even have private toilets. Just a sink, a door, and the hum of fluorescent regret. Locals call them SROs, single-room occupancy buildings. But don't let the name fool you. They're not places you live. They're places you wait, for the next overdose, for someone to knock, for a system that never calls back. And yes, people try. Community clinics show up. Volunteers bring food. Harm reduction workers walk the beat like urban medics. But when overdoses happen daily and mental health crises are background noise, you're not solving anything. You're just putting band-aids on a broken heart. So we ask, can a city thrive while its heart is collapsing? Can you host international film festivals blocks away from suffering without asking why? This isn't just poverty, it's a human story told with cardboard signs and silent pain. It's the kind of reality that doesn't need exaggeration, because truth here is heavy enough. This isn't just a neighborhood, it's a warning label stitched onto the city's polished skyline. Imagine standing in a place where survival is louder than the traffic. That's DTES. That's reality. Drop one word in the comments. Real, exposed, or unseen. Stick around, because we're not done yet. And neither is the truth. Number 3. Survival in unsafe spaces. Imagine your home is a tarp, your heat source, body warmth, and luck. Life without shelter. Right off the bat, that's the kind of reality tens or even hundreds are facing in Vancouver right now. People are carving out tiny universes from scraps, tarp shelters that shiver under the sky. No electricity, no sanitation, no security. The kind of living conditions nobody would choose, yet here they are. These makeshift homes aren't cozy. They're survival gear. No toilets, no waste management. Just cardboard, broken bits of wood, maybe a blanket. People are hustling daily, not for profit, but for basic survival. A dry space, maybe something warm enough to sleep through the night. They lose their dignity so they don't lose their lives. Survival is a gamble. Health costs pile up fast. A cold night, especially in rain-soaked Vancouver, can spiral into pneumonia. Without medical care, minor ailments become major emergencies. And it's not just physical. Mental strain is constant. Can you imagine? Every day is emergency mode. Every breath is a risk. What about food? Forget 3 square meals. It's a chore to find even one. Soup kitchens and food banks are often overwhelmed, underfunded. Ask yourself, have you ever wondered how one meal sustains someone through the night when you're worried about catching the next bus? You start to realize how thin the line is between being housed and being part of the statistic. People with part-time jobs or disability checks, they can still face this if rent jumps or hours cut. They're juggling life on a knife's edge. One shift missed, one apartment denied, and suddenly, Tarp City. They say home is where the heart is. But what happens when the only roof is sky and your pulse is the last thing warm? That's exactly how survival in unsafe spaces feels. The sky, your ceiling, the earth, your floor, your own heartbeat, the only heater. What if the city built more than luxury towers, but offered stable, affordable, supportive housing instead? Would lives change? Would Vancouver feel less hollow? Number 4. Disease hiding in plain sight. This isn't a medical drama, it's real. Infection spreads, not just in the body, but in the system. The moment you walk through the Downtown Eastside, you're stepping into a live epidemiology lesson, minus the textbooks, plus the tragedy. Tuberculosis, hepatitis C, HIV, respiratory infections, they're not headlines here. They're everyday hazards, invisible threats lurking behind a tarp. It's as if disease chose to pick a front-row seat at the city's homelessness crisis. Every breath on these streets carries risk. No clean water to flush the pipes. No sanitation to fight the stink. One cough or sneeze can cascade into an outbreak. You don't need a PhD to predict how fast this gets ugly. With underfunded healthcare and overcrowded shelters, the system is bleeding at the seams. Emergency clinics are triage points, not treatment centers. They patch you, push you out, and hope you survive till tomorrow. And who pays the price? Not just the person in that moldy tent, but everyone. When TB or hepatitis C go unchecked, they slip into buses, coffee shops, offices. A public health problem disguised as an individual struggle. If we treat disease like dirty laundry, we let it go airborne. Mental health and addiction services, overwhelmed, understaffed. Ask someone stuck on a wait list forever. They'll tell you. Detox programs with 0 beds, counseling lines that ring busy. The clock ticks faster for the sick and the addicted. They end up back on the street. It's a vicious loop. You can sanitize a hospital, but you can't disinfect a society infected by neglect. It's not about blame. It's about budgets, about prioritizing human life over fancy facades. So here's the kicker. What happens when the next outbreak arrives at your doorstep? Do we wait for a national crisis or step in when the crisis is still hiding in plain sight? Is disease still just a health issue or a symptom of a system breaking down? Comment, "We deserve better," if this part hit home. And before we go further, take 10 seconds to hit subscribe and support Roamkind. We're here to show the stories that matter. Raw, real, and worth your time. Number 5. Healthcare can't keep up. You can't pour soup into a cracked bowl. That's how Vancouver's health system feels when it's treating homelessness, not just patients. Emergency rooms have become the first, and often only, stop for people shivering without ID, insurance, or a roof. They come in with infections, overdoses, broken bones, chronic illnesses, but what they get is a band-aid at best. In British Columbia, studies show most healthcare to the homeless happens in packed emergency departments. No surprise, primary care is out of reach when you don't even have a mailbox. Across Canada, hospitals now tag homelessness in records, revealing rising numbers of repeat visits and skyrocketing costs. In Vancouver specifically, homeless patients are nearly 4 times more likely to be readmitted, and their care is far more complex and costly. Soup in a cracked bowl indeed. Think about the human toll. Mental health and addiction services are overwhelmed. Urgent crisis rooms open, but beds fill fast, and wait lists stretch to months. So, people detox on the streets, relapse, collapse, and the ER doors swing open again. A tragic cycle. Meanwhile, the rest of us feel its ripple. Public health threats, ambulance delays, and strained resources that zap care for everyone. Can patches and ER visits fix this? Or do we need a bigger fix? Housing is healthcare, says experts, a simple truth backed by data. Stable housing means fewer ER visits, fewer admissions. Wouldn't it be smarter to invest up front than to treat the same wounds over and over? You can't pour soup into a cracked bowl. This isn't a whisper, it's a warning. Without housing first, healthcare is stuck in triage mode, and that leaves everyone underserved. Number 6. Housing prices through the roof. Here comes the punchline of the Vancouver housing market joke. No one's laughing anymore. According to the latest data from May 2025, the median home price in Greater Vancouver is about $1,266,400 Canadian dollars 41, with detached houses averaging $2,046,719 Canadian dollars, and the benchmark landed around $1,177,100 Canadian dollars. Even a tiny one-bedroom apartment casually strolls past 2,000 Canadian dollars per month. Welcome to the real estate version of Mo Money, Mo Problems. Now, ask yourself, can someone working a standard job, pulling minimum wage, or just getting by in a mid-income gig actually keep a roof over their head here? It's simple math. Incomes are flat. Housing prices at warp speed. That mismatch isn't just a market trend. It's a homelessness crisis in slow motion. This isn't just happening in the Downtown Eastside. Renters and buyers are squeezed in UBC, East Vancouver, West Vancouver, even out into suburbs where people expected breathing room. Prices inflate, hope deflates. Houses turn into trophy assets. Long-term residents vanish. Neighborhoods shift. The city's soul shifts with them. Let's put it in perspective. Families and workers, doctors and baristas share one brutal reality. One missed paycheck, one eviction notice, one emergency expense. They're one step away from homelessness. In Metro Vancouver, wealth and poverty now coexist in the same streets. That's not just inequality, it's a social alarm. When housing costs shoot beyond reach, what stops our community from fracturing? When rooftops demand mortgage-level incomes just to exist, who actually gets to call Vancouver home? Number 7. One paycheck away from the street. It only takes one thing: an accident, a layoff, a bad month, and you're out. That thin line, it's paper thin. And Vancouver, it's where that paper gets soaked in rain and torn in half. In British Columbia, the unemployment rate in 2024 was 6.7%. Respectable, right? Until you zoom in. Youth unemployment sat at 14.4%. That's nearly 1 in 7 young people out of work, and likely out of luck. Not exactly the launch pad you dream of after graduation. The economy's been doing this weird thing lately. You know, where inflation rises faster than your paycheck, and your rent hikes laugh in your face. You could have 2 jobs and still be rationing toothpaste. One minor emergency, a flat tire, a dentist visit, a sick kid, and suddenly you're playing eviction roulette. Still think it's exaggeration? Then hear this. In 2022, over 147,000 children in BC lived below the poverty line. That's 16.7% of kids. That's not a statistic. That's your neighbor's kid, your co-worker's niece, your barista's little brother. This homelessness crisis isn't just lurking downtown anymore. It's stretching across the bridges, spilling into Burnaby, Richmond, Surrey. People sleeping in cars with tinted windows, in motels with broken locks, in backyards with borrowed tents. This is Vancouver, not a disaster zone. But tell that to someone brushing their teeth in a gas station bathroom. And sure, we love to believe in safety nets. But when was the last time yours actually caught you? A lot of people are one missed paycheck from the sidewalk, and they know it. So they smile harder. They overdress for work. They say, no worries, even when the power's about to get cut off. What does resilience mean when you have to fake normal every single day? What kind of future are we offering if working hard still ends with nowhere to live? Forget falling behind. In this economy, even standing still means getting evicted. Have you ever felt like one missed paycheck could change everything? Comment yes if you've worried about rent this year, or no if you haven't. Number 8. No help, no healing. Mental illness doesn't knock politely, it barges in. And in this city, there's nowhere left to hide. That's the truth for many caught in Vancouver's homelessness crisis. This isn't about people choosing the streets. It's about trauma, addiction, mental breakdowns, and a system that just nods and moves on. You see people swaying near tents in the Downtown Eastside. Some whisper to shadows, others scream into the void. PTSD, depression, anxiety, they're never alone here. And don't forget fentanyl and meth addiction. This isn't a statistic, it's a melody of suffering on repeat, over and over. What about help? Sure, there are mental health programs, detox beds, rehab centers, but here's the catch. They're always full. Waitlists stretch like taffy. You wait months just to get on a list. Months watching, hoping. But by then, one relapse is enough to send you back to square one. No healing, no foundation, just a revolving door. One street, one shelter, one clinic, and back on the street. Services aren't following people, people are chasing services. Can you imagine that? Running between clinics and tents, always one step behind your own recovery. Then there's high taxes, supposed to fund these services. Yet, budgets melt before reaching ground zero. It's like having a giant rain barrel with holes. Money pours in and pours out before it helps. So here we are, hundreds under bridges, tents at the end of alleys, hopes looped in a hamster wheel. What if we flipped that script? What if services didn't just exist, but met people where they were? Mobile mental health teams dropping by tents. Rehab programs that accept you when you're ready, not when you're lucky. Recovery doesn't thrive on a wait list. It needs a handshake. Right there, right then. Number 9. What the government is doing. Policy isn't poetry, but it can write either disaster or redemption. Peel back the headlines and you'll find that Vancouver's officials aren't just silent observers. They've put their chips on several big moves. Housing Vancouver, Housing First, and a 10 billion Canadian dollar poverty response. But are these bets paying off? First up, Housing Vancouver, a 3-year plan designed to build affordable, supportive, and social housing. It prioritizes seniors, women, and people with chronic health conditions. Sounds solid, right? But here's the twist. Even with new builds, shelter capacity is scraping full. That's not transformation yet. It's a band-aid on a bullet wound. For the first time in 6 years, more people are in shelters than unsheltered. Good news, but a crowded shelter isn't stability. It's a temporary roof. Next is the Housing First model. The philosophy is simple. Give people a home first, then wrap them in support. Healthcare, addiction services, job training. It's humane. It's smart. Evidence backs it. But build a house and don't fill it with staff or programming, and it's just another empty unit. Are people getting homes? Yes. Are they getting careers, counseling, community? Not enough. Then there's the BC housing strategy launched in 2020, injecting 10 billion Canadian dollar investment into the system. Affordable housing, addiction services, mental health programs, all got a slice. Yet last year, homeless deaths rose by 29%. Shelter occupancy climbed. Still, mortality climbed faster. What gives? Are we scaling solutions or just slapping on slogans? Without a robust labor force, without scalable mental health clinics, without rent control or tenant protections, policies remain paper tigers. The numbers show pockets of progress, but they also show cracks widening in the concrete. What do you think? Should we demand more than slogans? Could policy be bold enough to match the scale of the crisis? Drop your thoughts below. This isn't a spectator sport. And remember, good intentions are a start, but you can't house people with press releases. So, do you think building more shelters is enough? Or do we need a deeper fix? Drop a quick comment. Real solutions. If you believe bold policies matter, or just slogans if you feel we're still stuck in the headlines. Stick around, we're just scratching the surface. Number 10. A way out of the spiral. Let's stop asking, how did we get here? And start asking, how the hell do we get out? That's the sharp pivot we need now. Vancouver isn't doomed. They've laid bricks on the blueprint. Modular supportive housing has already given over 800 new units through BC Housing as of March 2024. Not bad for starters. These aren't just roofs. They bring wraparound services that help people cook, bank, see doctors, and reconnect. 6 months in, 94% stay housed. That's not policy fluff, that's stability. Now, it's time to scale. Vancouver needs thousands more units. Keep converting those single-room occupancy hotels, make modular housing permanent, build mixed-income communities. It's a housing-first move. Get people inside first, then wrap help around them. Results? In Canada and abroad, this approach slashed hospital days by 66%, emergency visits by 38%, and jail time by 59%. The data screams, need equals results. But here's the twist. High taxes don't mean doom. They mean choices. It's about putting cash into human infrastructure instead of letting costs explode in ERs and police call-outs. Every dollar spent keeping someone housed saves more in reactive services. Think proactive, not panic mode. Can this spiral be broken? Absolutely, but not with half measures. We need bold investment, rent control, job training, and healthcare that follows people. Mobile clinics, outreach teams, mental health wagons on wheels. It's not rocket science. It's math, heart, and guts. What do you think? Should cities tax more to treat homelessness as the emergency it is? Or are there better ways you see working? Drop your take below. Let's challenge this spiral. You only need a roof, help, and a chance. That's not charity. That's common sense. It's time Vancouver treats homelessness crisis as the public emergency it truly is, and fix it once, not relive it again. We've walked through data, down East Hastings, and straight into the heart of a crisis that's all too easy to ignore. Vancouver might still look like a postcard, but zoom in, and the fine print gets real. The tents, the prices, the silence, they're all part of the picture. At Romekind, we're not here to preach. We just press record. So tell us, what makes a city worth calling home? Beauty, policy, or how it treats its most vulnerable? Share your thoughts. You might start a conversation that matters.